Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to the lecture of Operation Research. In today's lecture, we are going to study the useful method called as a simplex method, which is used for solving a linear programming problem. With this method was established by an American mathematician George Dantzig. Okay. Before that, let us have a look to the last lecture what we have studied. In the last lecture, we have covered the fundamental theorems of linear programming problem. The first theorem tells us that the collection of all feasible solutions to the linear programming problem constitutes a convex set. Also, the extreme points corresponds to the basic feasible solution. The very simple meaning is whatever is the extreme point of the convex region are giving us the basic feasible solution. Okay. This theorem we have proved in two steps. In the first step, we have proved that the collection of all feasible solutions constitutes a convex set. For that, we have started with F to be the set of all feasible solutions. Therefore, knowing F to be the set of all feasible solutions, it was defined to be the set of all solutions X. It satisfies the condition X equals to B as well as the non-negativity restriction, so that the solution becomes a feasible solution. The two cases we have discussed is if the set F has only one element, then by convection it is a convex set. Later we have started with a consideration that it will have at least two distinct points. If these two points are there in F, if the 2 points satisfy both the restrictions on the given set F, then we have taken the convex combination of the 2 points x1 and x2, say x0, and we have checked out whether x0 satisfies the restriction on F or not, and knowing x0 satisfies the restriction, one can say that x0 is a feasible solution to the given linear programming problem. So we have proved that F is a convex set. In the second part, in order to prove the extreme point correspondence of the basic feasible solution, we have started with a basic feasible solution, right? Then to prove that this X is an extreme point, we have started with a contradictory assumption that X is not an extreme point. If it is not an extreme point, there exist two distinct points x1 and x2 where this x can be written as the convex combination. The very simple meaning is this x will lie on the line joining the 2 points x1 and x2, which is actually the contradictory statement to an extreme point. Now x1 and x2 we have written to be the two vectors x1 and x2. x1 is u1 v1, x2 is u2 v2. Then again proceeding with the algebraic calculations, we have proved that this x1 is equal to x2. If x1 is equal to x2, this is a contradiction to the assumption that x is not an extreme point. Contradiction to the contradictory assumption means this proves that x is an extreme point. So we have proved that the basic feasible solution is obtained at one of the extreme point of the given convex set. In the second theorem of fundamental linear programming problem, we have studied that if the convex set of feasible solution is convex polyhedron. What is convex polyhedron? Convex polyhedron is a convex hull having finite number of points. Okay. In this situation, we want to prove that at least one extreme point gives us the optimal solution. The second part says that if the optimal solution occurs at more than one extreme point, then the value of objective function remains the same for all the convex combination of these extreme points. Therefore, in the part 1, we have proved at least one extreme point gives the optimal solution. For this, we have assumed some k extreme points. Okay, and xm be the extreme point among these, at which we have assumed the value is say z star. Then we have assumed some point which is not extreme, say x0, and we have found the value at this point. Find the value of objective function at this point, say z0. Now the aim is simply to get the relation between z0 and z star, and the aim is to prove that z0 is less equal by z star. If z0 is less equal by z star, it will prove that this optimal solution will be occurred at the extreme point, and that we have done. In the second part, considering some r extreme point at which the value of objective function is optimum, later we have taken the convex combination of these r extreme points, say x, then we have found the value of objective function at this x, which is cx, and which we have proved to be equal to the value at the extreme point. Hence, we have proved both the fundamental theorems of linear programming problem. Now in today's lecture, we will move towards the first method called as the simplex method of solving the linear programming problem. This method was developed by the mathematician George Dantzig, American mathematician. Let me tell you his life tenure also. The life tenure of the mathematician George Dantzig is 13 May, November 8, 1914. November 8, 1914 to 13 May 2005. 13 May 2005. Okay. He was the first American mathematician who was given the systematic procedure of solving a linear programming problem. He was famous for the simplex method. Also, Dantzig solved two open problems in statistical theory. Okay. He has been awarded with many prizes called as National Medal of Science, John von Neumann Theory, Harvey Prize. Okay. His scientific career was in the papers of operation research, industrial engineering, computer science, economics, and statistics as well. Let us have a look to the concepts. Before going to the method directly, this method was actually dependent on the two conditions. First is called as a condition of feasibility. Condition of feasibility. What this condition of feasibility says that if it consumes at the initial solution, whatever the initial solution we were going to assume, this is an iterative process. We are familiar with the iterative process, I think. In numerical analysis also we are studying the iterative process. In the iterative methods, we are assuming some initial approximation, initial solution. Then by approximating the values, we are getting the better solutions, right? Similarly, here also this is an iterative process. Condition of feasibility tells us that it consumes if the initial starting solution is basic feasible solution during the computation, only basic feasible solution will be obtained. If we start with feasible solution, while computation we will get the basic feasible solutions only. Okay, and the second is condition of optimality. Now this condition of optimality guarantees only better solution which will be only better solutions will be encountered. That is, if we move on towards the by using the iterations, then optimality gets improved. That is, whatever is the value we have obtained in the first stage, the value will be improved in the second stage. Okay, let me write the simplex algorithm first. Now this algorithm tells us that first we have to convert the given linear programming problem into a standard form. Okay, and for solving these problems, existence of initial basic feasible solution is assumed. Okay, here I'll write for the solution of an LPP by simplex algorithm. By simplex algorithm, the existence of initial basic feasible solution is assumed. Okay, assumed means we are assuming always that initial basic feasible solution is exist, and with the iterative methods, iterative procedure, we are going to give the optimal basic feasible solution. Okay. Now the step number 1 in the simplex algorithm is we want the uh, objective function of the given linear programming to be in the maximization form. To be in the maximization form. And if not, we know what to do. Yes, step 1. Step 1 says that check whether objective function of given LPP is to be maximized or minimized. Maximized or minimized. Okay, we have to check it first. And what to do? If it is in the minimization form, we have to convert it to maximization. That I will write. If it is to be minimized, then convert it into maximization form. Convert into maximization by using the result. Can anyone tell me the result? Minimize Z is minus of maximum of minus Z. Okay, so for the first step, is it clear to everyone? We have to convert the objective function to maximum form. In the second step, we are going to check all the right hand side constants, BIs, and we want all the constants to be non-negative. If any one of them is negative, we will multiply by -1 in order to convert it to non-negative values. Let me write it. Step 2, check whether all BI I is equals to 1 to m are non-negative, full stop. If one of the BI is negative, then multiply the corresponding equation of constraint by -1. Okay, this is the second step. In the third step, we are going to convert all the inequalities to equations. How we are converting all inequalities to equations? By using those two slack or surplus variable. Convert all the inequality constraints into equations by introducing or by adding, you can write, by introducing slack and oblique or surplus variable variables in the constraints. And what about the coefficient of these variables, these added variables in the objective function? As there is no role of these added variables in the objective function, we will put the coefficient of these variable in the objective function to be 0. And the coefficient in the objective function is called as cost. Okay. Therefore, here I will write put the cost of these variables, the costs of these variables equal to 0. Equal to 0. Okay, here I will write what is cost. Cost is coefficient in objective function. Coefficient in the objective function. This is the third step. Now in the fourth step, we are going to obtain the initial basic feasible solution. Okay. If you just look at the statement which are involved as an constraint, one can say that trivial solution is always going to exist. Let us have a look to the equations, right, which we have taken in the day before lecture. Okay, this is what a standard form we have observed, where the inequality constraints are converted to equations. Here these are the added variables. Therefore, if I just substitute the values of all the original variables x1 to xn is equal to 0, whether it will be a solution or not, whether it will be a solution of the given objective function or not, whether trivial solution exists for the system or not. Yes, trivial is going to exist, because if I put the values of x1 to xn at 0 in all these equations, what will be the value of my xn plus 1? This is b1. Here I am going to put x1 to xn 0, therefore xn plus 2 takes the value b2. Likewise, this mth added variable xn plus m gives us the value bm. Okay, but as the cost of these variables in the objective function is 0, therefore what will be the value of objective function with these values? Xn plus 1 takes b1, xn plus 1 takes b2. Therefore, may I say the value of objective function is also 0. Right? Therefore, trivial solution exists. We don't know whether this is the optimal solution or not, but this is initial basic feasible solution. Why it is basic also? Why it is basic? Because if I plot the coefficient matrix by putting x1 to xn value 0, okay, therefore which variables are considered as the basic variable? Xn plus 1, xn plus 2 up to xn plus m. These variables are taken to be the basic variables, and these original variables will be treated as the non-basic variable. Now why these are the basic variable? Because the determinant of the coefficient matrix is actually 1, because these variables are going to form the identity matrix. Okay, therefore this satisfies the conditions of basic solution. Therefore this is basic. Also, as they takes the values non-negative, therefore those satisfies the non-negativity restriction. Therefore those are feasible also. Therefore this will be the basic feasible solution. And as we are considering this to be the initial solution, this solution will be considered to be the initial basic feasible solution. In the later stages, we are going to improve the solution to increase the value of z. Right? Therefore, the whatever this fourth step we were considering. What is my step number 4? Obtain initial basic feasible solution. And how to obtain this? Obtain initial basic feasible solution to the problem in the form. What is the form? Xb is equal to b inverse b. Right now we have written this equation bxb is equal to b by selecting the submatrix, right? Okay, therefore this is observed. And now with this initial basic feasible solution, whatever is there, we can write it in short by I, B, F, yes, initial basic feasible solution, right? Now what we have to do? We have to put it in the first column and put it in the first column of simplex table. First column of simplex table. We are going to form one table, and this will be the first column entries, initial basic feasible solution. Now in step 5, we are going for an important concept of net evaluations. Compute net evaluation. One formula is given to us. Compute net evaluation. Delta J is equals to Zj minus Cj, or I equals to 1 to n by using the relation. What is the relation? Delta J is equals to Zj minus Cj, which is actually Cbxj minus Cj. Okay. And after computing, we are going to observe the signs. Therefore, here I will just write the two more substeps. Therefore, I will write examine the sign of delta J. First steps tell that if all delta J's are non-negative, then initial basic feasible solution will be the optimum, means the final solution. If all delta J is greater or equal by 0, then initial basic feasible solution is an optimum, means final, optimum basic feasible solution. Okay. Now second one is, if at least one delta J is negative, we have to go for the next step. If at least one delta J is less than 0, proceed to next step. That is, this delta J less than 0 is an indication of whatever the solution we are discussing is not an optimum. Okay. Now we will go to next step number 6. Okay. Now here what we want to say, if we have more than one delta J's which are negative, then we are selecting most negative value. We are selecting most negative. If there are more than one negative delta J's, then choose the most negative. Choose the most negative of them. Okay. And let some rth value is most negative. Let delta, let it be, let it be delta R for some J equals to R. That is, some rth value is most negative value. Then we are going to observe the column entries of this rth variable. Again, I write two substeps here. If all xir are the column entries. If all xir is less than or equals to 0, for I equals to 1 to m, then there is an unbounded solution. There is an unbounded solution. All the values, if they are non-positive, then the solution is, then there is an unbounded solution to given problem. If we want at least one value which is greater than 0, positive. If at least one delta J or one YIR, sorry, XIR. X is the symbol I am using now. If one XIR is greater than 0, I may take the values 1 to m, then the corresponding variable will enter the basis. The corresponding vector XR enters the basis. These steps will get clear once we start the problems. enters the basis xb, enters the basis. Okay, next step is, now here we are going to introduce one variable in the basis. Whatever the basis variable there initially, we are going to introduce one variable. Number of basic variables should not change. Therefore, if one variable is introduced, one we have to remove, so that the total number of basic variables remains the same. Now in order to find out the criteria for the removing variable or leaving variable, we want to compute one ratio. Okay, over here it is asked to compute the ratio, compute the ratios xbi upon xir, where xir is greater than 0. I takes the value 1 to m and choose the minimum. Choose the minimum of them. Okay, and let the minimum be obtained at some k, suppose some kth variable. Therefore, this is xbk upon xkr. Then the vector xk will leave the basis. Xk will leave the basis. One variable enters, the further has to leave. One variable enters. Okay. Then the common element xkr, which is in the kth row and rth column, which is in the kth row or rth column, is known as pivot element or key element. Pivot element or key element or leading element of the table. Okay, in the next step, what we were going to do, we were going to convert the leading element to 1 and all the remaining elements of the column to 0. Convert the leading element to unity by dividing the row by key element and all other entries, all other elements in its column to zeros by making use of the relations. Actually, some formulas are given here in order to convert that key element to unity, remaining elements are 0. But while solving the problems, actually we were using the row operations. Okay, so here I will write the new elements. We will denote it by some cap symbol. Xij cap is equal to, we are going to use Xij minus xkj upon xkr into xir. Next is xkj cap is equals to xkj upon xkr. I takes the values 1 to m plus 1 and j takes the values 0, 1 to n. Okay, then last step we were going to follow is step number 9 we were following. We have to go to repeat this from step number 5, computing net evaluation and repeating the process. Okay, then go to step 5. Yes.
Ma'am, in the condition of Ij, the total elements are n plus 1 only, na?
No, these are not those values actually. These are the formulas which are taken for converting these values. This I will explain while giving the table. Without table, it is somewhat difficult to understand. That is what I told you. No? I'll just try to plot the table and I can tell you. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now here we want to go to step number 5. Go to step 5 and repeat the computational procedure. Repeat the computational procedure until either an optimum solution is obtained or unbounded. Either an optimum solution is obtained or there is an indication of of an unbounded solution. There is an indication of unbounded solution. Okay, therefore this is the method actually. In the first two three methods are very easy. First two three steps are very easy. In the first step, we want the objective function in the maxima. If it is not, we can convert it to maxima. Second step, all right hand side constant non-negative. If not, multiply by -1 and convert it to non-negative. Third, convert all inequality constraint to strict equations. Fourth, obtain initial basic feasible solution. And initial basic feasible solution, in all the problems, we were taking to 0, 0 values or the right hand side constant. Means all the original variables we were keeping 0 and whatever the added variables will take the values as right hand side constant. Next step, we are computing these net evaluation values. Then we are going to observe the sign of this net evaluation. If all the net evaluations are non-negative, initial basic feasible solution will be the optimum one. If at least one is not non-negative, that is, if at least one is negative, then we have to proceed to the next step. If we obtain the net evaluation value for more than one value to be negative, then we were selecting most negative, that is minimum value among them. If suppose the value is obtained for rth variable, then we were checking all xir, rth column entries. If all the rth column entries are non-positive, then there is an unbounded solution. If at least one entry is positive, then we will select that corresponding variable is going to enter the basis. Number of variables should remain, number of basic variables should remains the same. If one variable is going to enter the basis, one has to leave the basis. And this is the criteria for the leading vector. And now whatever is the intersection of leading vector and leading vector and incoming vector, the intersection will be called as one element called as key element, row element, sorry, key element, pivot element or leading element. And last we were converting the leading element to unity, other elements to 0, and we will go to step number 5 and repeat the process. Okay. Now in order to understand this process in detail, what we will do is we will take one example. Okay. Now everyone has to solve the example with me in your notebook. Okay. Let me take one example. Example number 1. Okay. The problem is solve the linear problem. Solve the given LPT. Solve the LPT and the problem is maximize z is equal to 3x1 plus 2x2 subject to the constraints. What are the constraints? Let me write x1 plus x2 less than or equals to 4, x1 minus x2 less than or equals to 2, and x1, x2 greater equal by 0. Okay, let us go stepwise. First step asks us to check the objective function nature. Now here the objective function nature is already given in the maximization form. Therefore no need to do the first step. What is the second step? All the right hand side constants must be non-negative. Now here the two right hand side constants 4 and 2 Both are non-negative, therefore no need to go for step 2. Step 3, convert all the inequality constraint to equations. Now here we have two less equal inequalities, therefore we have to convert to equations. Which variable should I add in these constraints?
Slack variable.
Yes, therefore step number 1 we will write adding slack variable. X1, X2 are original. Let me continue the variable, say X3, X4 in inequality constraints, right? In inequality constraint. Therefore, what will be my first constraint? X1 plus X2 plus X3 is equal to 4. Second is X1 minus X2 plus X4 is equal to 2. Is that clear to everyone? We have verified the third step. Now what to do? We will try to find out the initial basic feasible solution. But before that, what we will do? We will rewrite the linear programming problem as of with the help of this variable. Okay, with the help of these added variables. So what will be the objective function? Original objective function consists of two variables only, but here two more we have added. Therefore, we will write the new objective function. What will be the new objective function? Maximize z, 3x1 plus 2x2 as it is. Okay, what is asked to give the cost of these new added variables in the objective function? As there should not be any role. Yes, it is 0. Therefore, here I will write 0x3 plus 0x4. Right? 0x3 plus 0x4. Right? Now we will write the matrix form, because after writing the matrix form, the procedures will be clear to us. Okay? And here I will just write x1, x2, and the added variables x3, x4 all are non-negative. Okay? Now we will put the matrix form. What will be the matrix form of the LPP? Z is equal to Cx. Now, what is C here? Cost 3, 2, 0, 0. What is X? All variables now. X1, X2, X3 and X4. Now we will write the constraints. What is constraint? And X is equal to B. Right? What are the constraints? Two constraints we have. How we are writing the entries in this A matrix? First column is coefficients of x1. What are the coefficients of x1? 1, 1. Let me write 1, 1. Second is coefficients of x2, 1 and minus 1. Coefficients of x3, as x3 is added variable, this is 1, 0 and 0, 1. x1, x2, x3, x4. Right? What is the right hand side constants? 4 and 2. 4, 2. Right? This is what we have written the matrix form. Now we have to select the initial basic feasible solution. Okay, now we have two equations in 4 variables. Therefore, in order to obtain the basic solution, how many variables one has to keep to 0? See in the statement, in the definitions. Yeah, 2, correct. If we have m equations in n plus m variables, then keep n variables to 0, no? Keep n variables 0, and those which we were keeping 0 are non-basic. Therefore, here 2 variables I have to keep 0. Therefore, what I will do? I will keep x1, x2 0. I will keep x1, x2 0, and I will select this x3 and x4 to be the basic variable. Okay? So what I am doing now? these two I am selecting non-basic, right? And these two, let it be basic variables. Now why these are my basic variables? According to the definition, determinant of this coefficient matrix is 1. Correct, no? Determinant of these two variables which we have selected is 1. Therefore, we can select this as to be the basic variables, right? Then what will be the xb vector? Basic are x3 and x4. Right now, or I can write let x3, x4 be the basic variables. Be the basic variables. Then it is asked to find out the initial basic feasible solution, right? By using which formula? xb is equal to b inverse b, right? What is capital B submatrix corresponding to the basic variables? Is it 1001? This submatrix we have selected now, which will be B. Therefore, what will be its inverse? This is an identity matrix. 10 inverse will be identity again. See, understood why we are selecting the basic variables? Because the underlying the submatrix capital B is an identity, and it will be easier to get the initial basic feasible solution. Therefore, next step I am selecting initial basic feasible solution. xb is equal to b inverse into b. What is xb? x3, x4, right? What is b inverse? 1001 again, right? And what are right hand side constants? 4, 2. Therefore, what is my initial basic feasible solution? Two variables x3, x4 taking the values 4 and 2. And all the original variables takes the values 0, 0. Is it clear up to this step?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we will go for preparing a table. Therefore, here the heading I will give is preparing initial simplex table. Now we will prepare initial simplex table. Okay. Now while writing the table, what we were writing is, we were writing the table as basic variables. CB stands for cost of basic variable. Cost of basic variables means coefficient of the basic variable in the objective function. Okay. Okay. Next is cost of the variables. XB, values of the basic variables, then the vectors x1, x2, x3 and x4. Correct? What are the basic variables under the consideration? x3 and x4. Correct, no? And here we are writing CJ entries. What are the CJ entries? CJ means cost of the variables. What is the cost of x1 in the objective function? 3, 2, and the cost here is 0 and 0. Is everyone getting me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
You have to prepare a nice table like this. On pen tablet, it is very difficult for me to draw a straight line. So you have to bear with me now. This is the table we were preparing. Now I want the values of CB. CB means cost of the basic variable. Cost of the basic variable in the objective function. Basic variables we have selected already x3 and x4. Therefore, what is the cost of these variables in the objective function? That is
0.
coefficient 0, 0. Correct. Therefore, here the entries will be 0, 0. Right. What is XB? XB is initial basic feasible solution we have calculated just now and takes the values 4 and 2. Therefore, here I will keep 4 and 2. Now what is x1? We will write the coefficients of x1 in the coefficient matrix. What are the vectors? What are the coefficients we have written? Is it 1, 1? What for x2? This is 1 minus 1. For x3 this is 1, 0. And for x4 it is 0, 1. Okay. This is our initial table, right? Now what the next step in simplex algorithm tells us? Compute the net evaluations. Compute the net evaluation. Before that, can you tell me the value of objective function at this stage? What is the value of objective function at this stage? Z is equal to, no doubt this is CBXB, na? What is CBXB? 0 into 4, 0, 0 into 2, 0. This is 0. Correct, na? Or you can check the value here also. Z we have written like this, where the x1 value we are keeping 0, x2 keeping 0, x3 takes 4, x4 takes 2. But x3, x4 has coefficient 0, 0. Therefore, the total value for the initial basic feasible solution is 0, 0. Therefore, the formula is Z is equal to CBXB. Therefore, for the initial simplex table or for the initial basic feasible solution, value of objective function is 0. Now we will calculate net evaluations corresponding to every variable, and the name I am giving is delta 1, delta 2, delta 3 and delta 4. Let us do the calculations. For the first table, I am writing all the calculations in detail. Delta J is the formula CB xj minus Cj. Therefore, for putting j is equals to 1, this is CB x1 minus C1. Correct? What is CB vector? This is 0, 0. What is x1 vector? 1, 1. Correct, na? 1, 1. Minus, what is C1? C1 is the coefficient of x1 in the objective function. How much is the value? 3, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Here you have to focus CB x1 minus C1, right? CB x1, orally also one can do 0 into 1 0, 0 into 1 0 minus 3. For the first table we were doing the calculations. From the next table onwards we will do it orally. So what is the calculation here? This is 0 plus 0 minus 3. Therefore delta 1 takes the value minus 3. What for delta 2? CB x2 minus C2. CB takes 0, 0. X2 takes 1 minus 1. What for C2 value? Is it 2?
Yes, ma'am.
This is 2. Again, this is giving me 0, 0. 0 minus 2. This is minus 2. Delta 1 minus 3. Delta 2 minus 2. Delta 3. CB x3 minus C3. CB is 0, 0. X3 is x3 vector 1, 0, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Minus C3 is 0. Therefore 0 into 0, this is 0 minus 0 is 0. What for delta 4? Therefore this is also 0. Therefore all the 4 net evaluations values we have calculated. Let me put it here. This is minus 3, minus 2, 0 and 0. Okay. Now here you can observe very easily net evaluations corresponding to basic variables are always 0. These are the basic variables, no? x3, x4 initially. So these two values has to be 0. Now what the method says, check how many delta j's are negative. If more than one delta j's are negative, we have to select most negative. Now among these delta 1 and delta 2, which one is most negative? Delta 1 is most negative. Correct, na?
Yes, ma'am.
And delta 1 corresponds to x1. Therefore, this will be the incoming vector. This will be the incoming vector. Therefore, whatever xir we have written in the algorithm, I'll show you. At least one delta j less than 0. Then, if all xir, what is xir? R takes the value 1 now, na? Let it be delta r for some j equal to r, that is r for j equal to 1. Then what xir represents? Xir represents the column entries. Correct now? How we are going to locate the positions of these entries in this matrix? This is the position A11 से or X11 I will write. This is X11, no? This is X12, X13, X14. What about these positions? This is X21, X22, X23, X24. Correct, no? According to the matrix representation, these are the entries in the coefficient matrix. Therefore, see, what about this XIR entries for I equal to 1 to m? It is going to give us the column entries. Now we have to check the column entries. Whether all the column entries are non-positive? No, it is not. All the values are actually positive. Then we have to go for computing the ratio. Correct? Which ratio we have to compute? XBI upon XIR. What is I here? 1, na? Okay. Therefore, XBI means XB1 upon X11. Is it okay? XB1 and X11 for I equal to 1. What is XB1? First value of first basic variable is 4. Means actually you have to go for this ratio. 4 upon 1. This XB column upon X1 column. Therefore, what is the ratio? 4 by 1 is 4. And this is 2 by 1 is 2. We have calculated. Then after calculating this ratio, what we have to do? Compute the ratio XBI upon XIR, and then the vector, we have to choose minimum of them, and whichever is the vector k will give the minimum value, that xk will leave the basis. Correct na? This xk will leave the basis, right? Therefore we have to check among the two entries 4 and 2, which one is minimum? This one is minimum, and this minimum is obtained for which variable? For x4 variable. Therefore, this x4 will leave the basis. Now, entering column is x1, leaving vector, leaving row will be x4. Whatever is the intersection will be the leading element or pivot element, and this is my key element or pivot element. Is it understood? Kth row and rth column is going to be the leaving and entering vectors. Any doubt up to this?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Good. Therefore, here we have selected the key element. Okay, what the next step tells us? Whenever we find the key element, it was given na xkr, which is in the kth row and rth column will be the pivot element. Next is convert the leading element to unity and remaining element, other elements in column to 0. Okay. Now see, here we are not using the formulas. We were going to use the row operation because it's somewhat difficult to remember these formulas. If we instead of using these formulas, we will just use row operations to convert this element to unity and the remaining elements in the column to 0. Which row operation I should use? No doubt, while converting the remaining elements to 0, you should use the row containing the key element. But here, which two row operations I should use to convert this key element to 1, remaining entries to 0? Shall I use R2 by 2? Sorry, it's already unity, na? Sorry. The key element is coincidentally unity. Therefore, we have to convert this remaining element to 0. Which row operation should I use? R1 minus R2. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Second row will kept undisturbed. Okay. Now we will prepare the next table with this row operation. Okay. Now the row operation will be applicable from XB onwards. We cannot apply this to CB column. We cannot apply this to CB column. Therefore, let me do the row operations. Again, let me start basic variables. CB, XB, X1, X2, X3, x4 minimum ratio. I will not put the table marks, okay, lines. Cj takes the values 3, 2, 0, 0. Okay, what are the basic variables now? This x4 variable is going to leave the basis, and which one is entering? X1 is entering. Therefore, what are my new basic variables? X3 and X1. Correct? The new basic variables are X3 and X1. Now, what is the cost of these basic variables in the objective function? For X3, no doubt the cost is 0. For X1, what is the cost? It's 3. Right? Now, we will keep second row as it is. 0, 2, 1, minus 1, 0, 1. This is 2. The row here is 1, minus 1, 0, 1. Second row we have kept as it is. Now we were doing the row operation R1 minus R2. What is the entry here? 4 minus 2, 2. 1 minus 1, 0. 1 minus of minus 1, 2. 1 minus 0, 1. 0 minus 1, minus. Okay. So please tell me the entries again. For XB, this is 4 minus 2, 2. Here it was 1 actually. For 1 minus 1, this is 0. Here also we have 1. 1 minus of minus 1 will be 2. Here it is 1 minus 0, 1 is minus. Is it understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I will calculate Z again. What is Z? CBXB. Let us calculate now. What is CBXB value? CB 0, 3 vector, XB is 2, 2 vector, 0, 2, 0, 3, 2, 6. For the previous table, what is the value of objective function? It is 0. But now if you check, the value gets improved. Correct now? The value of objective function gets improved. Now we have to repeat the process. What the process says? Calculate the net evaluations again. Check all the net evaluations are non-negative or not. Okay. So let us calculate delta 1. Now let me show you how to do orally. Let me write the formula. Delta 1 is CB x1 minus C1. Look at this column CB 0, 3. Look at this column x1. This is 0, 1. Now you have to do the multiplication like this. 0 into 0, 0. 3 into 1, it is 3. Therefore, CBX1 takes the value 3 minus C1 entry, minus the stop entries. Therefore, 3 minus 3, it is 0. Is it okay to everyone? Or shall I show you again by doing the calculations? Okay, let us do for one more table the calculations. CBX1 entries, CB is 0, 3, X1 is 0, 1, C1 is 3. 0, 0, 0, 3, 1, 3, 3 minus 3, it is 0. What for delta 2? CBX2 minus C2. 0, 3. CB into this column now. Correct? What is the column? 2 minus 1. Minus what is the entry? 2. 0, 2, 0, 3 minus 1, minus 3. Minus 3 minus 2, this is minus 5. What for delta 3? C3 entries is 1, 0. C3 is 0. Therefore 0, 1, 0, 3, 0, 0, minus 0, it is totally 0. What for delta 4? CBX4 minus C4. CB is 0, 3. C4 is minus 1, 1. Yes, it is 3. Correct, na? Plus 3.
Yes,
Let us do orally again. CBX1 we have done. For delta 2, 0 to 0, 3 minus 1 minus 3, minus this top entry, minus 2. Therefore, this is minus 5. Now for delta 3, 0, 1, 0, 3, 0, 0, minus 0. This is 0. Next, 0 minus 1, 0, 3, 1, 3, minus 0. Therefore, this is 3. Right? Sorry, I forgot to write here. Here, which is entering vector, here x1 is incoming variable or vector, and x4 is living variable. Correct na? Here I have shown you how it is. This minimum gives you for x4. I forgot to write it. Okay. Now let us repeat the process. Check the values of your net evaluation. Whether all the net evaluations are non-negative? No. One net evaluation is negative still. Therefore, this variable is going to enter the basis. Right? If this variable is going to enter the basis, what should be the minimum ratio of xb upon x2? Na? xbi upon xi2. Right? 2, 1, yeah, it is xi2. So how we are going to calculate this minimum ratio? Xb column upon x2 column. 2 by 2, first entry. How much is the value? 1. Next is, this value is negative. We are not preparing the ratio because in the algorithm itself, minimum ratio is asked to calculate for the value xir greater than 0. Compute the ratio xbi upon xir greater than 0. Right? Is it clear to everyone? Therefore, we have obtained only one, and this variable is going to leave the basis. Now, this variable corresponds to x3. Therefore, which is my leaving variable? x3 is leaving variable. Correct? x3 is leaving variable, and x4 is x2 is entering variable. Therefore, what is my pivot element or key element? This will be my pivot element, right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is the next step? Convert this pivot element to unity, remaining to 0. Here, x2 is incoming variable. I hope you don't mind if I complete the problem. I'll take some 10 minutes more. Outgoing or leaving. Okay. And what is the pivot element? X 1 2 equal to 2. Is key element. Now you have to tell me which row operation should I perform in order to convert key element to unity remaining to zeros. Yes. First I have to go for R2 by 2. Correct na? Sorry, R1 by 2.
Yes, ma'am.
R1 by 2 na? How it is also. This is R1 by 2. What for second? To convert this minus 1 to 0?
R2 plus R1.
This is R2, R1 or R1 by 2?
R1 by 2.
Yes. For these two row operations we will perform. Again, row operations are going to be performed from XB column onwards, not for CB column, right? Again, I will write basic variables CB, XB, X1, X2, X3. I'll take some space to write. Basic variables CB, XB, X1, X2, X3 and X4, right? What are the basic variables now? X2 incoming, X3 outgoing. Therefore, is the basic variable X2 and X1 now? Correct. Now, what are the cost of these basic variables? Cost of X2 is 2. Cost of X1 is 3. Correct? Now, we will perform the first operation R1 by 2. This is 1, 0, 1, 1 by 2 minus 1 by 2. Okay? 1, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1. For x3 it is 1 by 2, and here it is minus 1 by 2. Correct, na? Check the entries. 1 by 2 and minus 1 by 2. Good. Now, what about the XB entry with this row operation? R2 plus R1 by 2. R1 is 2. If I divide by 2, it is 1. 2 plus 1, it is 3. XB is 3. Is it okay? What for X1? No change because this entry is 0, no? 1 minus 0 by 2. Sorry, 1 plus 0 by 2 is 1. No change. This is 0. We have made it 0. What about these two entries now? R1 divided by 2. This will be half, and I have to add here. So this is half. This entry will be half, and here it is minus half. Is it okay?
Ma'am, it's 1 minus half.
1 minus half. No, it's plus half. Sorry. Correct, no? This is plus half, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Now let me just calculate. See, while writing the tables, all of you should give the representation like this by drawing the corresponding nice table. Okay. Now what is C? Z entry here you can check. CBXP, is it improved or not? CBXB is 2 into 1, it's 2. 3 3s are 9. 9 plus 2, it is 11. Whether the value improved or not. Because for the previous table it is 6. The value increases to 11. Now I will calculate all the delta entries. What is delta entry? Delta 1, delta 2, delta 3 and delta 4. What is delta 1 entry? CBX1 20 200 313 minus 30. Next delta 2 212 300 minus 2 0. Right. Delta 3 2 half 1 3 half 1 and 3 by 2 5 by 2. Correct, I think. Next 2 and minus half, it's minus 1. 3 and half. 3 and half minus 1
Ma'am,
it
it's 3
is
by 2.
3 by 2. Check. 2 into 1 by 2. Here I will write. 2 into 1 by 2 plus 3 into 1 by 2. 2 into 1 by 2 is 1. 1 plus 3 by 2. 5 by 2, no?
Yes.
Okay. Therefore, here if you observe, all the net evaluations are non-negative. Therefore, according to the simplex algorithm, we have to stop the process here, and whatever is the solution will be the optimal solution. Here I will write, since all delta J are non-negative, stop the process. Stop the process. And what will be the optimal solution? Thus, the optimal solution is what is the optimal solution? X1 takes the value 3, X2 takes the value 1. X1 is 3, X2 is 1. Okay. And what is Z value? This is 11. This is 11. Okay, understood everyone? When we have to stop the process, when we have to do calculations and all. One thing to remember while performing row operations, whatever the row operations you are going to use, you should use this row involving key element and then perform the row operations while converting the remaining elements to 0. Use key element to convert the remaining elements to 0. Now I will tell you some quick tips for simplex algorithm. Now let us do an observation. In initial simplex table, whatever the CJ entries at the top are nothing but the negative of those are nothing but the net evaluations. Therefore, no need to calculate net evaluations for the first table. For check here for x1, 3 net evaluation is minus 3, 2 minus 2, 0, 0, 0, 0. Good. This is the first tip. Second is whatever the basic variables we are writing, No need to do the row operation calculations for these values, because for x3, x4, it has to constitute the corresponding identity matrix. Therefore, the first basic variable gives me the first column of identity matrix. Second variable gives me the second column of identity matrix. Check in this also. x3, 1, 0, x1, 0, 1. That is why we are converting. Here we want x1 to be the variable. Therefore, we are converting this x1, we are converting the vector corresponding to x1 as the second column of identity matrix. And what is the second column of identity matrix of order 2 by 2? 0, 1. For this entry we want 0 and this we want 1. Okay. In the next table, we will do with a shortcut process instead of writing everything in detail like this. Okay. Now I will give you some examples to solve. We just try to solve these examples. Okay. Second example, right. Maximize z is equal to 3x1 plus 2x2 plus 5x3 subject to the constraints x1 plus 2x2 plus x3 less than or equals to 430, 3x1 plus 2x3 less than or equals to 460, x1 plus 4x2 less than or equals to 420, x1, x2, x3 greater or equal by 0. Remember, in the second constraint, x2 is absent, therefore you have to keep the coefficient 0. Here x3 is absent, therefore you have to keep the coefficient 0. Let me write one more problem. Minimize z is x1 minus 3x2 plus 2x3 subject to the constraint 3x1 minus x2 plus 3x3 less than or equals to 7 minus 2x1 plus 4x2 less than or equals to 12 minus 4x1 plus 3x2 plus 8x3 less than or is equal to 10, x1, x2, x3 greater or equal by 0. Okay, try for solving these two examples. In the next lecture, we will see the next method of linear programming problem. Okay, thank you for being with me for today's lecture. If you have any kind of doubts on this today's lecture, you can ask me. If not, we will stop here. Thank you.